Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Positively Awesome Wrestling Show. If you just seen what the new intro, thanks to the drip prints on that one. That's right, the little guy. He wanted to make me an intro, so I said, "Let's see what you got," and that's what he provided for us. I'm gonna do some little work on the music to make it work a little bit better, so it's not that much black space. But good job on his behalf. Hope everybody likes it. But got that out of the way. Now it is time to get on to the show, and we got a great show tonight. And there was no better guest for us to have other than the man below me right here himself, Nick the Geek. Nick, how the heck have you been? How the heck are you today? And how excited are you for WrestleMania?
To answer those questions in no particular order, I'm fucking freezing cold. My heating is broken. Other than that, yes, it's the middle of January and we've got no heating. It's really unpleasant. The weird thing is the heating's working in the top of the house, but not in the bottom where I am. So my brother's nice and warm right now watching the show, and I'm sat down here doing it, freezing my nuts off. But other than that, I have been fantastic. I had a really good Christmas. I had a really good New Year's. Wrestling has been amazing the last few weeks. It's just been fantastic. It really has. I'm super excited for the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. And as far as WrestleMania goes, Jimmy, I am. It's only 79 days away. Not like I'm counting. I am. Oh, it's getting here. I cannot wait because, well, as you know, can I tell people?
Yes, you can tell people, bro.
Yes, Jimmy is now also going to WrestleMania. It's official. The king is going to be there. So the Wrestling Legion, the Positively Awesome Wrestling cast, are going to meet up, and we're going to have a hell of a good time while we're in Philadelphia. And if Jimmy is correct, we're going to see where Clerks was filmed, and I want to lean up against the Quick Stop.
Damn straight. That's. I'm so happy you were down for that trip. So I was like, yes.
I'll be there night one as well too. So the three of us finally get to meet face to face. So it's going to be a good time.
Yes, which will be good, Albert. It will be awesome.
With that, Tidy, you were a little under the weather last week. I think it's still lingering, but other than that, how the heck have you been, man? How have you been enjoying wrestling? How about that? There we go. We'll switch it up.
I enjoy Drew McIntyre. Okay, Drew McIntyre is wrestling right now, in my opinion. That's all I really need to keep going. Because Sammy ain't here. Where's Sammy? Huh? Where's he at?
Gotcha.
Broken leg, Drew McIntyre. The one thing that's making me love wrestling, well, the R-Truth and JD McDonough, that is selling me every single week. And the whole thing with Drew McIntyre again, Rhea's like, you can't touch him. So with Raw tomorrow, I'm ecstatic just to see what happens. You have. I need answers, Jimmy, Nick, Albert. How's this Rumble playing out? Because I'm done trying to think it through. This is going to be all emotions by Tidy. Not a single thought is going to come on to this thing tonight. Done.
So yeah, I got some answers to some of those questions you had there, Tidy. And we're gonna get to that once the list hits up. But before we get there, last and certainly never least, it is Albert. Albert, how the heck have you been? And you were under the weather last week too, weren't you? Just a little bit.
A little bit. Finally,
we're better this week though. Hopefully.
Yeah, back to 100%. Back to my old annoying self. It's always good to be back. Hey, and Courtney, you mentioned a little something TNA Hard to Kill. I'm going a little old school, repping some old school TNA wrestling. TNA is back, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that Jimmy said he watched the pay-per-view last night. I'm very curious to hear what he said about it because, like Courtney said, Nick Nemeth debuting on TNA Hard to Kill. TNA making their themselves known back into the space again. We haven't gone anywhere, guys. We still got a bunch of people here that are busting their asses and doing a good job. So. This is Nick, Tidy, you both said it. It's so fun right now. Wrestling is so fun right now. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yes, and
I'm sure both the TNA's fans were ecstatic with you as well, Albert.
I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna give my take on TNA after the list because I want to get into the list. But you're gonna be very surprised with what I have to say about the TNA show, Nick. I promise you. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, we didn't have one last week. We're getting our groove back, but we have one for you this week. It is time for the Positively Awesome Wrestling Top 5 list. And this week's list is none other than the... What's that? Anyway, This week's list is the top 5 most likely winners of the men's Royal Rumble. I was going to do a little something different, then it was getting a little bit crazy up in here in the head, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. That'll take the whole show. I want to make it a little bit shorter because we got some other things to tackle. After the list, we're going to be doing Cody Rhodes. If it's not Roman, who? And I have a name. I want to get some answers from y'all as well. And then we're also going to be talking about Sting's last match. Yay or nay. And that's exactly why we brought this man on the show, because nobody loves Sting and Cody Rhodes as much as this man right here. So I'm hoping to get him to snap a little bit. And then our guest of the week, hopefully he has a good one for us. And I will give my thoughts on TNA Hard to Kill because, yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to talk about it. So with that said, number 5 on the most likely to win the Royal Rumble, and that's based on what's happening right now. That could all change tomorrow, which I think it will. But won't go any further than that. I'll just say number 5, I have Sami Zayn. And if you asked me a month ago, he was my number 1 pick because I was for sure that Drew McIntyre was going to beat Seth Rollins for that World Heavyweight Championship. And it didn't happen. So now I'm like, what are they going to do with Sami? I'll say this. If between now and the Royal Rumble, even at the Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre finds a way to get that World Heavyweight Championship around his waist, Sami Zayn goes from number 5 to number 1 on my list, hands down. Like, there's no questions about it. But that has to happen for this to happen. So with that said, I'll now let everyone have their takes on Sami Zayn at number 5. I give him a 1% chance right now. That's his percentage right now. But I'll take it over to Tidy first. He is the Sami Zayn nutcase of the group here, even though I'm not that far behind him on it. What do you think about Sami Zayn being number 5 on this list of most likely?
I will put him on any number list and be happy. I'm just happy that you gave the man credit. I mean, he's more than earned it. Now, why does it have to be before the Royal Rumble? Can't Drew just win an Elimination Chamber or sometime after, or just break Seth's knee and run off with the belt? I mean,
and I'll
is there
explain
another way?
I'll tell you why that wouldn't happen, because if Drew isn't champion, then Sami would definitely just challenge Roman because of the way the story works. So for it to happen, it has to be Drew because Drew's the one that called him out.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, I take Sami any day. But what you're saying is that makes a lot of sense for my mind to emotionally try to accept. But I'll take Sami any day. I'm glad you have him on the list. Thank you, Jimmy.
So even if he doesn't win it, he will be returning to the Royal Rumble. So that's at least we're getting one cool thing there. One cool thing. Now I'll swing it down to Albert, Sami Zayn, number 5. Your thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Jimmy. I think that if we live in a world where somehow, some way, Drew McIntyre wrestles the World Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship away from Seth Rollins, I think that Sami Zayn is the absolute right person to win the Royal Rumble, to face Drew McIntyre for that championship. I think that without Drew winning, not really much of a chance here.
No.
I think that we'll get to the other guys eventually who, make way more sense. But I do like that there is a, if we have to make a list of 5 guys that we think could win, and I love the fact that Sami Zayn's on this list. I think it's great. I think that it's WWE has rehabbed his image from being Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro's manager and wrestling Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania to being one of the 5 guys that people can see winning the Royal Rumble in 2024. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I like that they've kept some steam behind him too. Where I know a lot of people are like, oh, he fell off after the tag team. No, he didn't. He just had to restart the singles, and he's still one of the top baby faces in the entire brand. So, yeah, no, he's not. Courtney. Chad Gable's not on this list, Courtney. I'm sorry. He has other plans for WrestleMania. And then Nick, last and certainly not least, your thoughts on Sami Zayn with a 1% chance sitting at number 5 to win the Royal Rumble.
Well, I think obviously with the way things stand, Sami got the snowball's chance in hell of winning the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
The day the devil needs a snow shovel is the day Sami Zayn is winning the Royal Rumble, but that day is the day Drew McIntyre kills Seth Rollins and takes the belt.
There you go.
It just depends on whether that happens before the Rumble, and unfortunately, with the way things are progressing, I do not see that happening before the Rumble. So I like it because I like Sami Zayn, but he ain't that.
Okay.
If the stars align, yes.
So 1% is
But
a proper percentage to give him.
I would say like 0.5. 0.5,
Round up,
but
that's
1%.
I'll take it.
1% is acceptable because you love Sammy so much. So
I'm being realistic there. I think I don't think I'm being crazy with this one. I
No.
think because I think tomorrow, and I'm about to get into this with the number 4 one. I think tomorrow is going to be I think something crazy is happening tomorrow. I just get this vibe. The Jinder Mahal challenge for the world championship is no secret. It's no coincidence. That's a very crazy thing to just do unless there's something planned within it. And that's where number 4 comes into play because no one has made this connection that I've seen so far. Jinder Mahal has a connection to someone who wants that title, and his name is Drew McIntyre, and he's number 4 on this list because I'm just going to say if there's no way Jinder Mahal is winning the title tomorrow, but we could be getting a cash in. And if we got a cash in, I look at a Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre program for WrestleMania. That's good. You have 2 big men that can move. You have a match that we have not seen yet. You have a World Heavyweight Championship match that can kick off the show and not take away from the main event of Roman and Cody or Roman and Rock, whoever it might be, and then Seth and CM Punk. It's not taking away their spot. They're still going to get their world. It's a great way to kick off the show. Again, we haven't seen it before, and they've already been teasing it. Ever since Rhea and Drew started doing business, Damian has not been happy with Drew. So there's things there. Whether that happens, we'll see tomorrow night. But I definitely feel like there's just this vibe I get. And usually when I get this vibe, 9 times out of 10, something kind of crazy happens. I think we're in for a show tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to swing it down to Albert first for his take on Drew McIntyre at number 4. And I give him at this point in time a 4% chance. But if that happens tomorrow, again, if Damian cashes in, I put Drew number 1 on my list.
You bring up the interesting point of Priest cashing in because something's got to give here soon, right? It's got to be soon because Priest looked. Triple H has not done. Triple H hasn't made his wrestlers look stupid quite often since he's come back. But after that Seth versus Drew match, Damian Priest looked stupid. Okay, you were deterred, right? You still have Dom right next to you. Why wouldn't the both of you go in and just attack Seth and cash in afterwards, right? Like
because of Mommy.
What's that?
Because of Mommy. She runs the show. Dom's not going to cross Mommy.
And even still, if Priest says, "Hey, screw this, let's go beat him up," and I'm going to cash in right now, it would. I just didn't like that dynamic. So now, in my mind, to me, it just means that something's got to give there. They're building to something, and something's going to go on with that briefcase. Something's going to go on with a cash in, and it's going to happen soon because we're getting to a point where everybody's predictions are now okay. You know, there's another guy who's going to be high on this list. That's the guy who's probably going to face Seth. I think that there's a good chance for a swerve. And if Drew McIntyre, if there is a cash in, Drew McIntyre is the perfect guy to be in that match. It's also a really good opportunity that, okay, let's just say Drew McIntyre wins and there's some chicanery and it's a triple threat match at WrestleMania with Sami Zayn involved too. You know, and now you have this hot baby face, this guy who's like a tweener and it's really hated heel who's now coming into his first ever WrestleMania as a world champion. It tells a really good story.
And just one more thing before I kick it over to Nick here. Drew, I don't think he's signed a contract. I don't know. I don't really follow it as much. But from my understanding, he hasn't signed a contract yet. What do you think would be the best way to convince that man to stay? You give him the moment that he lost out on during the COVID. You give him a world title shot at WrestleMania so where he wins it in front of the fans. To rectify that wrong that was given to him. No one's fault. Like it wasn't anyone's fault, but it just happened and it was unfortunate for him. But Nick, number 4, Drew McIntyre with a 4% chance of winning the Royal Rumble at this point in time. What are your thoughts?
I think 4% is about right. Drew is doing phenomenal work at the moment. It's kind of a tweener heel. I love every one of his promos. His matches are always hard-hitting. A program with him and Damian Priest is a tantalizing prospect. if that plays out, because that's some big boys.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I like.
There's some big men slapping beef, and that I like the idea of. I mean, honestly, I don't see Drew winning the Rumble, but yet again, if stars align, certain circumstances happen, it would make perfect sense. So yeah, I'm completely down for that.
Okay. And again, I had to do some stars aligning things to make this list complete, because honestly, it's a 3-headed race, and I had to fill 2 spots. I didn't want to get too crazy with them, and these scenarios are still plausible to an extent. And now, Tidy, I'll swing it over to you, because I know you're loving yourself some Drew right now. You even said so to kick off the show. What do you think about Drew McIntyre with a 4% chance, sitting at number 4 to win the Royal Rumble?
According to logic, that is a 4% chance. I'll agree. I'll say it's a 5% chance, just to be tidy nice. But my thing is, I would say it's a higher chance for me as a fan, because I'm emotionally very invested in Drew's story. He has a better Cinderella story, than Sami Zayn, than Cody, than he has for me it is.
Okay,
for me it is.
Okay,
that's
fair.
And
that's
it's
fair.
bigger than CM Punk's story even. It's bigger than the Rocket versus Roman story. I don't care. You can throw any story you want. And for me, it won't stick as what I've been emotionally inclined by watching Drew McIntyre since Cardiff become a jobber, take losses, forced to fight, forced to take his best friend's spot for the IC title, ends up being a 3-way, which got match of the year versus Gunther. That boy shouldn't have been an IC title shot. Well, I'm clawing right now. I can't get a championship, so I'm going to go for an IC title. No one could have pulled off this convincingly these last 2 months that, there's Punk stories, but my story is more convincing. And what he's doing right now, I am beyond sold that this is my guy. I don't care what everybody else's guy is. This is my guy now. I'm invested in the story. I'll say a 25% chance emotionally off the tidyisms that if he wins, I don't care who he fights. I just want him to have his moment. Whether it's Judgment Day, I think Judgment Day is better, like you're saying. It's because, like Albert said, like we all know, Rhea's like, don't touch Drew. This leads up to a great story. Yeah. And it's been bugging the shit out of me because Rhea won't say why. I'm like, just give me anything. Give me a word. Say something of why. You don't want to piss Drew off. He's in a bad mood lately. Just say something. Why won't you let anyone touch him? So anyways, I haven't met a higher chance. He's my number 1 that I want to win emotionally.
Okay, that's fair. Gunther's back tomorrow. Just saying. I'll be curious if he's in the Rumble or they're gonna do a match with him. I'll be very curious what happens here. But that's for another day. Because Gunther is a wild card for me at this point. Number 3, and this is the one that we're gonna spend probably the most time on, and this is one of the reasons why Nick is here, because I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it. I don't want this to be on the list at all. I think he should have a 0% chance of winning. But because he came back and said that stupid little line that got everybody so excited, he is. Number 3, The Rock. And I have him at a 15%. I only have a 15% because I don't even think he's going to be in the Rumble. But that Monday Night Raw segment just kind of flipped everything on its head, which is kind of a good thing, but it's also kind of a, man, don't you dare screw this up for people moment. But without anything further to say, I'm going to swing it down to Nick. What do you think about The Rock at number 3 with a chance to win the Royal Rumble to take on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
Well, for purely selfish reasons, Jimmy, as you know, I'm going to WrestleMania. I would be over the freaking moon if The Rock won the Royal Rumble on a personal level.
Really? Okay.
Because it means I get to see Andy's head physically explode.
I was going to say,
when The Rock comes out of WrestleMania. And that is something that I want to be there for. I want to see this man cry, this hard nut-esque soldier cry, because a 56-year-old man who was named after an inanimate object is walking to a wrestling ring. This will give me great joy.
Love the way
so from a personal level, I'd be really happy with it. From a wrestling fan's level, I'd be bloody annoyed.
Correction, The Rock's only 51. He's not 56, man. Come on.
Sorry, 51. All right. But from a wrestling fan point, I'd be bloody annoyed. There are only two people who should win this Royal Rumble because the Elimination Chamber fixes it for whoever or which one of these two doesn't. And The Rock is neither of those men. Unfortunately, I was there last year at WrestleMania, as were you. We saw Cody Roman. We'll get to it in a bit, I imagine, but that's still, I think, where they're going. But I think I can see a way out of it if The Rock is going to fight Roman at WrestleMania. And at this point, I really think The Rock is going to fight Roman at WrestleMania. So, yeah, personally, it'd be great just so I can see Andy's head go. But no, he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. No,
flat out shouldn't.
I'm with you. Go over and swing it over to Albert because I think Albert is the one last week when we asked if Rock versus Roman happens in 2024. He was the only one that said no. So I'm curious as what he has to say about this. Rock being the third person on this list with a 15% chance.
I still think that there is a snowball's chance in hell that this happens. I really don't think that's the case.
He called The Rock a liar.
But I also don't. But I also don't think
the People's Rock.
That's right. You know what? I do a better eyebrow. Anyway,
scandal, sir. Scandal.
So here's the thing. I don't see it happening. I just don't. I don't think The Rock comes back now. I don't think that. So the last time that we heard about The Rock.
I got you there. Anything is possible.
So I think that the last thing that that we saw when it comes to The Rock is that he said that okay, we were locked in to do this match last year, but 6 weeks just wasn't enough time for me to train. I couldn't do it, so that's what happened. I don't foresee the fact that The Rock has enough time now, where he looked like he was blown up just dropping a people's elbow last week, that he's going to be in ring shape enough to A, win the Royal Rumble, and then B, be in ring shape enough to then go on and have a good match at WrestleMania.
To be fair, number 30, he doesn't need to have that much card. Like, he could just literally wheel his ass out there, throw somebody over, and then...
Which moves at the pace of, time in reverse. So...
All I'm saying is this. Number 31 last year. I don't think they do it 2 years in a row.
That's fair. That's a very fair.
And I look, I don't see it. Now, taking all that being said,
you're going to be so disappointed if he comes out at number 27, aren't you?
No, not at all. Because I think that right now, if they can do it, the money is on Rock and Roman. It is a once in a lifetime match. It's Rock and Hogan. It's lightning in a bottle. It's one of those matches that it's Austin Hogan. We never got to see it. Undertaker Sting, we never got to see it. There are these dream matches that people have wanted to see for a very long time. Right now, if you can strike, if lightning can strike in a bottle and you can do this, you do it right now. Cody can wait. I know everybody thinks, no, Cody can't wait. I still think that there's a chance that even if Cody wrestles Roman, he's not even winning at WrestleMania. I think that WWE is so dead set on making Roman Reigns be this generational talent that he's going to go all the way out and pass Hogan and not even lose the title until maybe SummerSlam. If not, then maybe WrestleMania next year.
Wouldn't it have to be after SummerSlam from to pass Hogan?
So then if that's the case, then maybe WrestleMania next year.
I'm not 100%
there's
sure.
A chance.
I'm just snowballing with that. But
I think to pass Hogan is September.
So there you go. So then then he doesn't lose the title until WrestleMania next year. I think there's a very good chance we see Rock versus Roman. If it can happen this year, because if it doesn't happen this year, I don't think it happens ever. Okay. So if you don't strike now, I think there's a chance. Look, I wouldn't count it out. I'd say that Rock and the other two guys on this list, in my mind, it's a 33.3% chance that any one of these guys can win. It just depends upon. It really just depends upon the Rock schedule.
Okay. So he says not happening. He says get this shit off the list. He doesn't belong to be there. Ty, do you have anything to add to the Rocket number 3, or did these gentlemen cover it for you?
I think y'all covered it last week. I think Elimination Chamber could be its own story. It doesn't have to be a WrestleMania moment. And honestly, that's big for him in Rio, Australia, and all the other promoting he wants to do, just like you guys said last week. That's convinced me more that, and like Nick said, I'd rather see someone else win the Rumble. So no, I mean that's honestly enough said. I want to see The Rock and Roman at some point for funsies. Yeah. Would I rather see Cody? Yeah, I'd rather see Cody fight Roman. I'd rather see LA Knight fight Roman. I'd rather see a lot of people fight Roman.
Okay.
But for the spectacle of what it is such a draw. I want to see the bloodline story. They would have to come up with it if he did win the Rumble. There would have to be a huge bloodline story. And I want to see that, but you don't need to win the Rumble to do that. That's all.
So just to get these out there, I did have some cool pictures to put up, but I just forgot to put them up. I haven't been doing it. But there's your number 5 and there's your number 4. That's what they're going to look like when they win the Rumble, if they win the Rumble. But they're not going to win the Rumble because he's number 2 on this list, but he's the guy I think is winning the Rumble. I don't know what it is. I just think he's winning the Rumble. And it's 2 years in a row, 100%. I sat here last year before the Rumble, I sat on this show and said he should wait until WrestleMania 40 to win the belt. That was my take on it. I've been on this since day one. Had he not got injured and took that time off, you could have done it last year and okay, we're cool. But I think he needed to wait because if he would have won it last year, there's no adversity. He wins the title and then what? You just have Superman with a title that nobody's going to challenges. He faced the Brock one a little bit after that WrestleMania. It was not what it should have been, but
the matches were good.
I didn't like them. They made my worst of 2023, if we're being honest.
Okay,
but that's not their fault. I just don't think they meshed well in the ring. But I'm sticking to the thought that Cody Rhodes needs to win this year. I think if you make him wait even longer, at that point, it's kind of like the devil payoff we were talking about, where if they waited until Adam Cole got better to make the reveal, it kind of just gets to the point where it's like, come on, man. What are we doing here? We don't have all the time in the world. Let's get this thing over with. And I think that's what you're going to risk doing if you don't pull the trigger on Cody this year. I'm not going to be mad if I see Rock and Roman at WrestleMania because, like we started off, I'm going to be there. And I have not ever seen The Rock wrestle. So who the heck?
Exactly.
As a wrestling fan, why would I be mad at that? But in this moment right here, speaking on it, I'm like, Cody Rhodes, it's his moment. I would hate to see him lose it again. So
wait. My mind is blown right now. Neither of you guys have seen The Rock wrestle live.
Nope.
Holy crap, that's crazy.
My first WWE show was WrestleMania 37.
Oh,
no,
wow.
30,
okay.
36. It was the first WrestleMania back from COVID. That's the first WWE show I ever went to.
Wow.
WrestleMania 39.
Yeah, so.
No way.
Wait, no, so 37. It was 37 because 38 was Dallas, 39 was Hollywood. So 37. Yeah, 37 was Tampa.
Till then, I've just been to a load of indie shows.
Yeah, I went to Nitro. I've been to some other things, but I never went to a WWE show. But
I got to think about it now. I know for sure. I definitely 100%. I saw him when he came back in the tag match against Awesome Truth. I was there 100% live for that. I know for a fact I saw him wrestle there. I had to think back to know if I saw him before then because I think I think I might have saw him at my first house show, but I think he was Rocky Maivia at the time. We might be talking like Nation of Domination, Rocky Maivia. Yeah,
you saw Nation Domination Rock. You saw the best version.
Because the main event of that show was Austin and Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels and Triple H. So and then my first show after that was Survivor Series 2002. So Rock is gone by then. That's first ever Elimination Chamber. So I think those are the only 2 chances I had to see him live. But that's crazy. Yeah. Now I'm surprised that both of you guys don't want him to win the Rumble more, so you get to see him at WrestleMania.
I'd be lying to myself because again, I've been on the Cody should win at WrestleMania 40 bandwagon since day one. Like I've not swayed from it and I'm not backing off at all. That's when it needs to happen for sure. So Nick, I'm swinging it down to you because Cody's your guy. number 2 on this list, and I give him a 30% chance, even though I think he's winning it. I'm just trying to be realistic based on how things are going. Cody Rhodes.
Be realistic, Jimmy. It's a 60% chance.
You think he's got a bigger chance than CM Punk?
Yep.
Based on how the things are being told?
Based on let me tell you a story. Let me tell you, you'd like to fancy book. Well, I've done a bit of a fancy book in my head. So, Cody Rhodes arrives in WWE at WrestleMania 38, I believe.
Yes.
Becomes the fastest rising babyface they've had in a decade. Is booked exactly how he should have been booked in AEW, but Tony Khan's a moron. So,
not my words.
Moving on. He then rises to win the Royal Rumble. They put him in at number 30 because he'd just come back from tearing his pec off, and it was to protect him from injury, even though it would have been better to see him come in at Magic 27 or something like that. But he goes to the Rumble. He goes to WrestleMania. We're all there. He puts on a phenomenal performance against the biggest star in the industry, and he fails. He then goes through a year of adversity. Full year of people getting in his freaking way.
Yep.
Full year of people distracting him from the goal of winning the WWE Championship, the belt his father never won. We get to this year's Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes enters at number 1. CM Punk enters at number 2. CM Punk entered at number 2 10 years ago.
Yes, he did.
For his last Rumble appearance. And this year, he is the one person that's getting in Cody Rhodes' way. Because he needs to win just as much as Cody needs to win.
More so.
And they get to do a Austin Triple H Royal Rumble 2002 for most of this game. People come out, they get eliminated, they go back to beating each other up. Someone comes out, they eliminate them, they go back to beating each other up. And this goes on and on and on.
Drew comes out, eliminates them both.
No. This goes
Tiny's
on.
head would explode.
The
That was for
Tiny.
Tiny. That was
Is
for
the
Tiny.
last final 4, which
Yes.
is Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and The Rock. Drew McIntyre eliminates The Rock,
I like it.
setting up a match at Elimination Chamber with The Rock, which would certainly persuade Drew that he might want to re-sign his contract as much as a title shot, giving him a match against the biggest star in the history of the business. After this, CM Punk is eliminated by Drew McIntyre, and it comes down to Drew and Cody. Cody eventually goes 5-minute match. Cody wins, throws him out. Cody wins the Rumble, entering at number 1. Cody then goes on to wrestle Randy Orton, who won the Fatal 4-Way earlier in the night, because Roman doesn't have to lose in that match. Roman doesn't have to get pinned in that match. Roman doesn't have to get submitted in that match. Roman is totally, completely, and utterly protected. His streak, his reign is still intact.
Can I stop you right there, though?
Yes.
You know how crazy that would be. Insane.
Yeah.
To throw away Roman's run
Yes.
and him not get pinned.
Yeah.
You know
I
this.
completely agree, Jimmy.
I'm not
100%
against the idea of Cody and Randy because we're going to get to that in the next
There's a
segment
better
afterwards.
story to tell with Randy Orton than there is with Roman.
And I agree. And like I said, we can talk about that when we talk about in the next segment with Cody doing things. But for Roman to drop the title without getting pinned, bro, you can't do that at this point.
Because
not,
I think that,
not with him being at the history and making history
right.
with it.
Because then the person who beats him he doesn't lose, so they don't get the prestige or the luster of dethroning Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns just loses his championship.
I would call that a big L on Triple H's booking.
Same here. I can't see that happening.
Or would you disagree that AJ Styles and LA Knight are in that 4-way to take the pin?
I think AJ Styles is in there to take the pin. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't be shocked to see Roman stack all 3 and then pin the Rock at Elimination Chamber, making him the biggest supervillain you possibly could going into Mania. So
Roman isn't going to be at Elimination Chamber.
That's a lie. You know it, bro. Here, and just to touch on that, because he's not promoted for the show.
Yeah.
But he wasn't for Money in the Bank. he was in the main event of Money in the Bank. He wasn't for SummerSlam. He was in the main event of SummerSlam. WWE does this just because Dave Meltzer every single time is going to see that. Like, well, he's not on the poster, so he's not going to be there. And then WWE can say, psych, don't listen to this old man. He's crazy in the head, and you should know it by now. So I would be like absolutely shocked, like flabbergasted if Roman isn't at Perth. It'd be insane to me. But I had to get that in there. I want to swing it over to them so we can get through this and get the next segment, and I can get time working perfectly. I'm not against a Cody and Randy one, though. Again, we can talk about that in a second. Did anybody else have anything to add to Cody Rhodes number 2?
No, I think he said everything. And I will back up Nick. I think if anybody can take it and not need the prestige, it'd be Randy, and still beating Roman without pinning Roman. I do like the idea, Nick. I actually do like that if it was to happen, even though it would piss a lot of people off.
Oh, I don't care.
Because Randy doesn't need that pin to be the next big superstar, and you wasted it. But the point is, it is a good point they're making. It's kind of hard to see it, but I like it though.
I can make my Cody point right when we talk about Punk.
Okay, so number 1, obviously, no secret about it, is none other than CM Punk, and I'm glad I can put this up here and put him at number 1 without it being me being a fanboy, because it's not what it is. Based on what we're seeing happen, this one makes the absolute most sense. The last match CM Punk had was the Royal Rumble. He was never really, I mean, he did get eliminated, but he was eliminated by someone who wasn't even in the match, and then we never saw him again. Now he comes back. The first match he has is to get that Royal Rumble so that he can complete his story, which is the main event WrestleMania. He's already started the program with Seth. It looks like Seth probably is going to be the world champion heading into WrestleMania. It just makes too much sense. I know that there's a possibility of the swerve, which is why I included the numbers 4 and 5 on here, but we'll have to wait and see. But based on today, right now, how booking has happened, I have CM Punk at number 1 with a 50% chance of winning the Royal Rumble. Tidy, I'm going to swing it over to you, buddy. I want to hear what you got to say about CM Punk being the most likely to win the Royal Rumble.
Oh, poor Drew. Poor Cody. poor Cody. That's all I got to say. Poor Drew and poor Cody. And if Sammy's in there, poor Sammy as well. Man, if Sammy could just had a story, if Sammy could have just been the main event of WrestleMania, like the true main event, not a tag team main event. Come on, man. He lost in the chamber.
Brother. Preach.
How it's going to hurt me even more that, again, someone shows up out of nowhere named Cody Rhodes, takes your spot away, Sammy. Someone shows up out of nowhere, CM Punk, to now Drew. Takes spot away from you, Drew.
To jump to Cody's defense, he didn't show up out of nowhere. He was in the company for a full year.
Yeah, he just got the injury is what really helped Sammy even get to that spot.
No, I'll give you that. That's true. It's just the Sammy bandwagon that I was on. That was all. That derailed and made me cry. That's all. It's fine. My tears mean nothing. I get it. Shit, man, that's ultimately really good storytelling. I mean, if you're making someone cry like me. Anyways, I think CM Punk coming out of nowhere and taking it from other people and the way he's talking lately, I also think it's fucking brilliant. Like, you guess what? All of you have a story, and guess what? CM Punk's back. Y'all shut your mouth. I mean, it's kind of crazy that this could happen. It's what I needed. I needed some of this clarification, as I was saying before I got on. Like, I need to know the options and know what they're weighted at. So good job, Jimmy. These are very good weights for me to deal mentally to get my psyche right. I love it. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Him or Cody make the most sense. And it's pretty spot on.
And Albert, CM Punk wants to hear what you got to say.
CM Punk
being the most likely.
He's the most logical, and he's the right choice. I think that Cody... You know, we're talking about Cody going through adversity, right? Why not one more month of adversity for Cody? If he's already going through adversity here, why not one more month? Now he's got to win the Elimination Chamber. Oh, man, I lost the Rumble. Now what? Now I can't finish my story. Oh, wait, there's the Elimination Chamber. There's a chance I could, Nick Aldis is going to let me enter. I'm going to go in. I'm going to.
Because they have history.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can go in, I can win the Elimination Chamber. I can be the first guy in the Elimination Chamber and outlast all 6 other guys and really punch my ticket and, have the world at my shoulders, and behind me for this whole WrestleMania push. Punk
what up, Blue? Thank you for joining, bud.
Punk needs to Rumble more. It's just, flat out Punk needs that win. Punk needs that big win to come back to solidify himself as, yeah, I'm not just going to come back as this nostalgia guy. I'm not just going to come back on this one last run and be like, hi and bye. No, I'm here. I'm here to work. I'm here to be the guy. I'm here to be the number one guy. And if that's going to be it, then he needs to win the Royal Rumble, get the statement victory, go to WrestleMania, have the match of the year against Seth Rollins. And in my opinion, I think he wins the championship. I think it's one of the things that he says he doesn't want to do. Same thing in AEW. I don't want to be champion. Well, guess what? It's good damn business. Punk wins the title, holds till SummerSlam, has somebody else take that belt off of him. Drew McIntyre, please. Drew McIntyre, please. Drew McIntyre. But have somebody else take that belt off of him. It's the right story. No, I want Sammy then to beat Drew. That's the whole thing. Because I want Sammy to beat Drew for the title. I'd rather see Drew beat Punk for the title. I think that we got the tease, right? Speak to my chest, right?
I would like Drew to be the person that comes at Sammy after he wins it, because I really just want to see Sammy and CM Punk in the ring together. And then Nick, I'll give you just real quick, what's your thoughts on CM Punk being the most likely to win on this list?
Yeah. Albert said most everything. It's good business. It makes sense. It's not Cody, so I'm not happy about it, even though I love Phil.
Here's I'll do a real quick fantasy book for you to help you with your Cody. I know you're sad that Cody doesn't get it, but Cody gets screwed out of the Royal Rumble. Okay. And we'll get to that again in the next segment as well. But Cody gets screwed out of the Royal Rumble, and then, that's adversity. He needs more. Facing more of it wouldn't hurt him going into WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns to win the title. It wouldn't hurt him at all, because then when they have the Elimination Chamber, Nick Aldis, who has history with him, and as I've learned from Not Sam Wrestling, everything matters. And if there's history between people, then they can bring it into this and make something happen. And then Nick Aldis can return a favor to Cody Rhodes to put him in the Elimination Chamber, because Roman's probably laughing at Cody thinking, you thought you were going to come back and get me, because they've teased it enough to where that could be a thing. Nick Aldis puts him in the Elimination Chamber. He wins it and goes on to WrestleMania to win it.
I'm sorry.
So I'll give you that. But I will return fire.
Too damn bad, Lou. Coco Beware ain't coming out.
Why couldn't Punk be the one that has to face the extra bit of adversity and win the Elimination Chamber?
Because Cody Rhodes' story is the one they've been selling to us, whereas CM Punk is just, that's not what they're doing. The story with CM Punk is with Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes' story is, I'm here to finish my dad's story. So that's why.
I need to win Roman's title. I need to,
he does have to win the WWE title. He has to win the WWE title.
Yes, it's the WWE title. It doesn't have to be Roman holding it.
Sure, no, it doesn't. I'm 100% sure, no, it doesn't. But I think that him losing last year, I think it cheapens his win if he comes back and beats Orton for it. I think Orton's the perfect. He turns heel the next night, and he's the first program for Cody right out of the gate. I mean, that's writes itself, I'm okay right there.
That's where I would have gone with too. That Randy's the first test with Cody, because that's a great story to tell, and then Kevin Owens is right behind him for another feud for him to have after Randy. So,
or even have some fun with it and have Orton and Cody team for a little bit, and then have Orton turn on him. There's a lot of options with it, and I think that having Orton back full time now. And he said he still wants to do this, and he still wants to do it for a while. I think we have a lot better options now that we can do this without, in what I think it would be cheapening the loss of Roman's title to have him not be pinned to end that.
Okay. Yeah. So before we go any crazier with that, again, we're going to talk about Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton's probably going to come up a lot in this next segment. But before we do that, I want to talk about TNA Hard to Kill, because every once in a while, I get some time on my hands. There's a TNA pay-per-view on, and I throw it on. I'm never disappointed. Never. They're usually a pretty good show. The last one I watched was Slammiversary 2022, I believe. And in my opinion, it was the best pay-per-view I watched all year. It was just that good. Watched TNA Hard to Kill last night. We were home. We had nothing to do. Mandy even said, throw it on. And, it's the relaunch of TNA. So I was like, you know what? If there's any time to give it a chance, right now is the time. Great show. It was a great show. I think TNA does pay-per-views better than anybody. Their formula is perfect. It's wrestling. It has a great amount of wrestling for pay-per-view. And they do video packages. They don't overdo it like WWE does it. They're short enough to where it's not a hindrance, but they're long enough to where I get everything I need to know to have an investment in somebody. And the show last night was ace. We had Dolph Ziggler show up, Nick Nemeth at the end. He's going to go after the Impact, TNA title. I know that's a bugaboo, doesn't be saying right now. And then we saw Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke. She showed up. I think that's a great place for Dana to be. I'm looking forward to seeing what TNA does right now. I'm going to tune into their TV once again to see if they can hook me. The TV is usually where they lose me because it's just not as, but I'm going to give them an honest chance. And I'll say this. If their TV can match up to what their pay-per-view did, I might eliminate AEW from my viewing and replace it with TNA. That's how good that and that's a big thing because I love so many people in AEW. But they haven't put anything out that was as good as what TNA did last night. And that's my opinion on it. I just wanted to get that out there. So what's we got in the comments? You missed it last night, man. I saw you made the thing chat thing. You didn't even show up to it, man. What's up with that? It was great. And then PCO right here. When PCO came out with his Frankenstein entrance, Amanda lost her shit. It was awesome. It was great. It was a WrestleMania entrance, man. It was really, really cool.
I'm super happy for Moose, by the way.
Yeah. It was obvious he was winning it, but they did it very, very well. Alex Hammerstone, baby. I'm never mad when I get to watch Hammerstone. Never.
Big deal right now with TNA. Getting Hammerstone, bringing in guys like Nick Nemeth. I mean, these are guys that a lot of people were pegging to be like, yeah, they're going to go to AEW. They're going to go to AEW. There's no doubt. And I'm really glad that TNA's like, hey, you know what?
Well, Nemeth's doing New Japan as well, so he could be on a tour.
Yeah, sure. I think Hammerstone's just on a tour. Nemeth, I'm pretty sure is signed with TNA. I'm pretty sure. Because he ripped off the shirt and everything to say, hey, I'm here, baby.
Yeah.
Hammerstone just had the match with Alexander, which was fantastic.
I do think TNA is now trying to just say, hey, you know what? There's another place where you guys can go and work other places and still be on TV.
Yeah.
Not just AEW. And I think that's going to be a big deal.
All right. So with that, swing it over to Cody Rhodes versus at WrestleMania, because everyone is assuming now that The Rock is there to take his spot. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you. We'll make this a little bit shorter because we're running a little bit lower on time. I'm not mad about going over. I just don't want to go crazy over. Just so like maybe 4 minutes a person to at the most. Who would you want Cody Rhodes to face at WrestleMania if it's not Roman Reigns? Nick, you're definitely going first on this one. I want to hear it. You're on the clock.
Randy Orton. I've already told you why.
Yeah.
Randy Orton is the perfect person to beat Roman Reigns without beating Roman Reigns. Because it gives him the prestige of getting his 16th World Championship, which means he equals Flair and Cena. Right? Which then Randy can just talk about that for the next couple of weeks. It doesn't matter that he didn't pin the big dog because it's even more embarrassing for Roman that he lost his title without winning it in the first place. This gives the perfect opportunity for The Rock to come in and go, well, you're not really the head of the table anymore, blah, 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 blah. They go off to do their own dance at WrestleMania. In the meantime, there is an absolutely amazing, phenomenal, fantastic, brilliant story to be told between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Randy brought Cody into the company in kayfabe. Right? He's the reason Cody was there in the first place. He was the teacher. He was the mentor. He was the guiding hand. And he wasn't a very good one. And yet Cody left and he's come back and he's everything Randy always wanted him to be, but without Randy's guiding hand. This story is very interesting. This story would be very compelling. And this story is what they should do. Because God damn it, I want to see The Rock live at WrestleMania. And this way, he doesn't get in Cody's way. I don't care about Roman having more prestige going into the match with The Rock. The guy's been champion for 1,275 days. Screw him. He's got enough prestige. He doesn't get embarrassed by not getting pinned. If Randy Orton hits an RKO on AJ Styles and pins him 1, 2, 3, no one is going to be complaining that Roman Reigns didn't get pinned. It needs to be Randy Orton Randy Orton needs to be the one to do it, so Cody still gets his moment, and I get to see The Rock at the same show. Done.
All right, Tidy, I'm gonna swing it over to you. Not Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes versus who?
Who?
If it's not Roman Reigns.
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, because if it's not Roman, and like I said earlier, you know what, man? Nick has pulled me to the dark side, because, I don't want to see Nick end up being like me. End up crying at WrestleMania. End up crying at Elimination Chamber. And then go through Elimination Chamber. All this lead up to WrestleMania, hoping there's a way that Sammy can get back into whooping Roman's ass. I don't want to see him go through what I went through. And honestly, Nick just sold me. I mean, he sold me earlier. He just sold it again. Yeah, he's right. Roman doesn't need any more prestige.
Yes,
Roman does not need any more prestige. He can win in the weirdest way, because out of nowhere, Nick Aldis called this bullshit and was like, we're going to have a 4-way, even though it was just being decided who would be the guy. And I was like, man, give me AJ Styles. Give me AJ Styles. And he's right. Randy's a sleeper. Randy is the sleeper. It's a 16-time champion. I mean, the story they can tell, it wouldn't take any away from Cody. Randy would look in his right place. Roman can have his bullshit story with The Rock, and people can be happy. You know what? I'm really digging that right now.
All right.
I'm on the Nick train right now.
He says Randy too. All right.
I say
Wrestling
Randy.
Legion.
Exactly,
We make it make
exactly
sense.
how Nick just said it. We don't need more Sami Zayn tears.
Albert, let's see what you got cooking over here. If it's not Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes versus who?
I don't want to steal the other answer, because Nick and Tidy's answer is the obvious one that I would go with as well. But if we're not going to take Randy Orton, give me Cody versus Gunther. I would love to see Cody have the fight underneath against a bigger guy, overcome more adversity. It's the American versus the Austrian. It's almost everything that you would want out of a big WrestleMania type match. I think this is early in Gunther's career to have it. But I think that it would be really
it should
cool
be next year's main event with Cody defends.
Randy.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think he's the perfect guy to be the guy who wrestles Cody at WrestleMania next year for the title. But if we're not doing it this year, if Cody's not, finishing his story this year, give me Cody versus Gunther. I think Cody would. They would just have such a great match. Cody can sell like no other, and Gunther's just going to chop him to pieces. It's going to be a great story.
That man chops your soul.
I'm not against it, because I do want to see Cody Gunther, and I thought that I think Cody versus Gunther is your main event next year at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I think that's way to go. Because Cody wins it this year. But if he's not, I started thinking, and I'm a mad scientist when it comes to thinking. I should not be left alone in my thoughts when I'm thinking about wrestling fantasy booking stuff, because it goes everywhere. And I think Cody Rhodes, for story reasons, what makes the most sense? Randy Orton makes the most sense. I'm not even going to disagree with you there. My only issue with it is that Randy just came back, and if he's going to be taking on Cody at WrestleMania, he would have to be a heel, and I don't think the fans are going to be quite ready to boo Randy. That's just me. He could prove me wrong, because he is one of the greatest heels of all time. He could definitely persuade me and make me eat my words. Many people have. But I don't think it is. Now, my pick that I'm about to say, very, 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 very unlikely. But I like to stick with the continuity of story. And if it's not Randy Orton, who could he possibly wrestle at WrestleMania that would be big enough and be involved in his story that makes sense? And it's a name that a lot of people think is coming to WWE. And that name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He shows up at the Royal Rumble. He screws Cody Rhodes out of the Royal Rumble. I prevented you from winning the title at AEW. I'm here to make sure you don't finish your story here.
I hate this man because he always makes me want to see things.
Cody Rhodes versus MJF at WrestleMania. It makes the world of sense for MJF's first feud. 100%. It lets everyone know he's a real deal. And you know what? I'm having him beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania on top of that.
Give me all of that.
Again, very, 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 very unlikely to happen. I don't think Max is leaving AEW. But if he
This is the man who ended The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 14, remember?
What's that? What's that?
I said, you are the man who ended The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 14.
And I made it make sense, man. It's not like I just did it for shits and giggles. I did make sense with it. So that's what I think we should do. And then Cody gets his win back at Backlash and then continues his trek all the way on to WrestleMania 41 to dethrone Roman Reigns, which would just be a fucking travesty. But if he's not getting Roman Reigns, that's the match that I think. That's the only match I think I could see at WrestleMania for Cody where I wouldn't be upset for him. That's just how I feel at this point. That's how much I'm invested in Cody winning, beating Roman at WrestleMania. You know, it'd be dope, Blue. You know, I got the best ideas of all time. So with that, it'll probably be Randy Orton if it's not Roman. But man, MJF and Cody would be a fantastic WrestleMania feud. But we'll see. So from there, we will move on to Sting's last match, because again, I know Nick's going to have something to say about this one. I was at this show and I was hyped for Sting and Darby. And Sting, Darby, Powerhouse, and Takeshita. I was hyped. I was off the seat screaming in their face. It was fantastic. It was a great time. And then all the air got sucked out of me as soon as I heard Super Kick Party. I'm going to leave it at that because I want to hear Nick's take on this. Sting's last match, and I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Apparently, it was Sting's idea. You're allowed to tell Sting he's wrong, though, Nick. It's completely fine. I'll agree with you, and it's okay. I want to hear what you think about the Young Bucks being Sting's last match ever.
And I'll be right back. Go ahead, take it away, Nick.
Right. 1988, a 5-year-old me was sat down in front of the television because I was a hyperactive boy. And on the screen was Ric Flair defending the World Heavyweight Championship against a blonde, flat-haired man with face paint called Sting. And they had a 45-minute Broadway, and it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. Now, my instant gut reaction when I found out that my idol's last match was going to be against the Young Bucks. Yeah, that's about the right face, Jimmy.
This was my face, bro. What?
Yeah, I can imagine. No. Now, I can tell you now, those douchebag mustaches. They look like Spanish waiters. Either that or gigolos, one way or the other. I haven't quite decided.
You look like John Waters.
No, I understand why Sting wants it to be the Young Bucks. And it's because of the Rock and Roll Express.
You think that's what it is?
Yes. I think it's because Sting started his career wrestling the Rock and Roll Express in tag teams as part of Power Team USA and then the Blade Runners. He used to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express a lot.
Okay.
And I think the reason he wants to go out against the Bucks is because the Bucks not only retired the Rock and Roll Express, but they are the most similar team thematically and stylistically in a modern twist to the Rock and Roll Express. So I understand why Sting wants to do this. Doesn't mean he's right.
Wrong. He's wrong.
Right. He is wrong. The Young Bucks are the wrong choice to retire Sting. They do not need this rub. Nobody really in AEW needs this rub.
Person.
Well, there is one person, which is the person he's been tagging with for the better part of 3 years, called Darby Allin. Now, I understand that for Sting, it would be nice that finally his friend Darby doesn't have to turn on him. And it would be the first person in Sting's entire wrestling career that wouldn't have turned on him. But Jesus Christ, just have Darby turn on him.
You could just have a friendly competition between them. It doesn't even need to have
it doesn't have to be screwing him over. It could just be, I want this Sting.
You could have Darby turning heel during the match.
I've stood by you. You stood by me. Let's do this. Let me give you the send-off you deserve. This is a much better story to tell than the Young Bucks going, yeah, we just want to end someone's career. Because that's what it's going to come down to with the Young Bucks. It's got nothing to do with in storyline. It'll have nothing to do with respect. It'll have nothing to do with honor. It will have absolutely nothing to do with anything relative to Sting's career in any way, shape, or form. This match needs to be Darby Allin. It should have been Darby Allin all along. I understand that they want to do a tag match to protect Sting, because the last time Sting did a singles match, he got seriously injured. But
I'm gonna correct you on that one when I go on my rant, just so you be prepared for that one.
No, that's cool. But Sting got injured in his last singles match, to my knowledge. So I can understand why they want to protect him in a tag match.
It's
but
tag match, Courtney.
Is
it was Sting and Darby.
The Young Bucks. I get all of the reasons behind it, but it still doesn't make it the right choice. Darby has earned this. Darby deserves this. Darby Allin is this generation's Sting. That's what Sting saw in him the moment he showed up in the company. He realized, you can be the guy to carry my torch. Well, for Darby to carry that torch, Sting has to pass him the fucking thing. And he can't do that by being his tag team partner. He can only do that by being his final opponent. And now I'm going to shut up and let somebody else run.
All right. I remember when I brought this up to Albert, he was very excited to get his little piece out. So I'm going to swing it over to him, and I'm going to give everybody a little fair warning. When it's my turn, the chain's off, the glass is off. It ain't Drip King no more. It's a fucking wrestling fan who's very pissed. Albert, you first, though, because I know you're about to go crazy.
I pride myself on not being a negative person when I try to talk about this, and I've been very, very honest about trying to be way more positive this year. And then I heard this announcement, and I thought to myself, what in the blue hell is anybody in AEW doing? Does nobody know what they're doing? Does anybody have any idea what they're doing at all, in the slightest? This is the biggest legend in the history of pro wrestling outside of the WWE. There has been nobody else outside of the WWE that has made their name as big as Sting has. Yes, he was there for a hot minute. I don't even care about that.
That didn't count.
It barely even counts. The best parts of his career were in WCW and TNA. That's where he made his name. There is nobody else bigger. You know, Nick, I don't have that same story as you do, but I can tell you that the one thing that drew me in was 1991, Sting versus Lex Luger. They were a tag team. Luger wins the world title. Luger and Sting have a falling out. Luger turns heel, and it drew me into WCW like nothing else, because I love Lex Luger. Baby. I love Lex Luger, and I loved Sting at that point. And man, they broke my heart breaking up, and then seeing them go after each other, it was unbelievable. To know that Sting's last match will now be against the Young Bucks, to me, is the biggest cop-out that I've ever seen in my entire life. You can sit there and you can say, well, Sting chose them. Well, I don't care, because I don't think Sting is sitting there going to Tony Khan, hey, you know what? Me and Darby thought it up, and we want to face the Young Bucks for our last match. I don't think that's the way it is. I think it was pitched. I think Sting said, sure, I'll work with the Young Bucks, and that's the way it was, because Sting isn't controversial. He doesn't care. He's not Hogan. He's not going to sit there and go, well, I have creative control, and I can do whatever.
It doesn't work for me, brother.
Exactly. And here's the other thing. Let's now take all of that aside. Let's take my personal feelings about the Young Bucks aside, because I really don't think that it should be them. I don't think they need it. I think that if you're going to do anything, there's a Carolina connection with the FTR, and I'd rather see them be heels and face Darby and Sting in this last match than I would ever want to see the Young Bucks, because they're a throwback to the Four Horsemen. You want to go against people, I get the Rock and Roll Express comparison. How about the Four Horsemen, the group that Sting feuded with more than any other group in the world? The modern day version of that, they're sitting in AEW right now. It's FTR. Why would
doing nothing?
Like, what are you doing? Why would you not be? Why would it not be them? But even if it's not, let's take all that off the table. Let's take my personal feelings aside. Why are we doing this cold? Why did the Bucks not come out, at least team with Flair, have Flair turn on Sting one more time, turn heel, dress the Young Bucks up as Ric Flair like they did in AJ Styles and AEW and TNA, and at least squeeze a little juice out of this to give us something from the past. Give us something that we can grasp onto. But they didn't even do that. It's a cold Young Bucks coming out and talking about respect, and nobody cares. Everybody can sit there and say, oh, well, Sting picked it. Well, guess what? Everybody got mad when Kurt Angle's last match was Baron Corbin. Because, oh, well, it should have been Edge. Oh, well, it should have been Cena. Well, they weren't available. And then WWE said, well, you want to put this guy out and put this guy over on your back? And Kurt Angle said, Okay.
To be fair, Kurt he didn't want Corbin.
Sure, I know he didn't.
Vince convinced them, but in my opinion, it was the right call. They just didn't do anything with Corbin afterwards, and that's on WWE.
Agreed. And let's face it, the two guys that he wanted to face that would have made the most sense, Edge hadn't returned yet, and Cena was still Cena. I don't think was at that wrestling.
Yeah, I get it. That's what I said. It was the right call. They never capitalized on it.
Right, but the thing is that you have this perfect storm with Sting where you can pick anybody on that roster, and there is nobody that's going to say no to that. And the choice was the Young Bucks, and I just don't see how anybody thinks that was smart. And Jimmy, please, I'm done ranting. Please go off. I can't wait for this.
Bro, I'm pissed. This has nothing to do with me hating the Young Bucks either, just so we're clear. Nothing at all to do with them. First excuse I've heard is that, as Meltzer pointed out, there's no tag team in the last 20 years that has made anybody look as good as the Young Bucks have. And to an extent, I'm not going to disagree with that because I think the Young Bucks do make people look better than they are with that style of wrestling. But to my argument against that, Nick, you've watched all of Sting's run in AEW, correct? Albert, you've watched all of his run in AEW, correct? Can you name me one match where Sting wasn't entertaining? Does he need help from the Young Bucks to put on an entertaining match?
That crazy son of a bitch is jumping out of balconies to keep people entertained.
He did a reverse DDT through 2 tables off a balcony.
He knows how to work a style that you need to do a bunch of flips and spam a bunch of moves to get the crowd invested. He knows how to get the crowd hot. He don't need the Young Bucks to have a great last match because he's been having very, very, very entertaining matches his entire AEW run. 2, it has to be a tag match because that's all he's done. It's to protect him because of his age. Bullshit. Because I sat there, and if there's one match Sting had in his entire AEW run that I hated, it was against the Acclaimed. And the reason I hated it was because the Acclaimed was on the rise. And then they had Sting take them out on his own because Darby wasn't even involved in 2/3 of the match. So for 2/3 of that match, Sting was wrestling a handicap match against the Acclaimed. So if he can do that, there's no reason in hell he can't wrestle Darby Allin in a one-on-one match. 3, if we're going to look at this, his entire run in hindsight, if they beat the Young Bucks, which I assume is going to happen, who does that help? Nobody. They will have gone 28-0 as a tag team with Darby Allin. They've never won the tag titles. They beat the Young Bucks, and then Sting leaves. Darby's left with his thumb up his ass and has to start completely over from scratch because now he doesn't have a tag team partner, and he didn't accomplish what a tag team is supposed to be doing, and that's winning the tag team championships. So it fucks over Darby Allin completely here. 2, and I'm not even putting it past him to do it, the Young Bucks win, they don't need the rub. It's so fucking pointless. The only person here that needs that rub is Darby Allin. And if he can have a handicap match, like I pointed out against the Acclaim, he can have a match with Darby Allin. And Darby don't even need to turn heel. It could literally just be there's nobody I'd rather have my final match with than the best tag team partner I've ever had in my life. They have the match, and then you have Darby kind of cutting corners or something like that in the match because he realizes, oh man, I can't let this opportunity to get past me. He turns heel during the match so that the story doesn't have to be forced. And then Darby is off to the fucking races after he retires Sting. It's absolutely asinine to think that they're going to have Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks because Sting said that's the match that he wants. And again, if he did, I'm sorry, Stinger, you're wrong. You're just wrong because it helps nobody. It literally helps nobody. He doesn't need to win his final match. Doesn't need to happen. For all the fans who they should let him go. No, that's not how it works. You put over people on the way out. Back. And there's nobody better for Sting to put over than Darby Allin. There's no argument to be made that tells me I'm wrong here because I know for a fact I'm 1,000% right. Darby has earned this spot because he's gotten his ass whooped time and time and time again for Sting to come in and just reap the benefits. And it's fine. I've enjoyed most of Sting's run. He's been very entertaining. This is a fucking travesty. I honestly just couldn't believe what I was seeing when the Young Bucks came out. I was like, this has to be a joke. Like, why are we doing this?
It's that, like, the internet, too. Like, they're talking about the Young Bucks, and they're talking about how, it's going to be magic when the Young Bucks do, like, that whole Shawn Michaels Ric Flair tribute in the match with the I love you, I know thing. And in my mind, I'm like, if you really want to mimic that, the right person to do that with this Darby, to have Darby, even if Jimmy, even if I'm 100% with you, but even if he stays a babyface, but has to like do something like really hardcore, like hit him with 3 coffin drops to make sure he puts Sting down, and
Coffin
then his
drop him
story
through a
after,
table.
right? But
I'm
then his
sorry.
story after that is that did you like people? Like you can have people coming up to him going, "Well, you put Sting out of wrestling," and Darby can just be, "Did you think I wanted to do that? I didn't want to have to do that, but
And
I
that
had
could-
to."
And that could be his descent into madness. Like,
Right,
there's so many better
exactly.
ways to do this. It's absolutely
There's so many
insane to me.
better ways. It just doesn't make sense that they chose this way.
The God's and simple fact is the Young Bucks have absolutely no place in Sting's last match.
No,
There's
don't.
no reason for it to happen. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's just Tony Khan sniffing far too much cocaine to make a logical decision.
Not my
with
words,
booking
everybody.
dates. No, they're mine because the man is a moron. He has got one of the most talented rosters on the face of the earth and yet has no idea how to book it. It's absolutely absurd. The fact that they said Sting picked the Young Bucks, like, why?
I don't want to like say
why wouldn't Sting pick Darby?
Know.
That's what I don't get. Why wouldn't Sting pick Darby for his last match?
It all goes back to what we've been saying about Tony for a while. He needs to grow some balls and put his foot down every once in a while and say, that's not what we're doing because that's not what's best for business. And right now, what would be best for business is Sting putting over Darby Allin in his final match. Anytime, and I'm going to point out, because all the AEW, the only people defending it are the AEW diehards. And I hate to even go down this road right now because it's so stupid. But those are the same people who bitch, complain, all that, cry every time it happens to WWE in this exact way where Goldberg didn't put over somebody. Who else? Fucking Undertaker didn't put over somebody. They're like, this is bullshit. This is how it's supposed to be done. But then now Sting's doing the exact same thing, and they're all like, this is how it should be done. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. It's a horrible decision.
It's
and
even
also
than that too.
Just to prove this isn't an AEW, because I know there's the idea that everything WWE does is so great and everything AEW does is so bad. That's just stupid to think that that's how I operate. I thought it was stupid what they did with Sting at WrestleMania against Triple H, and you brought the NWO. Yeah. I thought that was just as fucking stupid as the Young Bucks taking on Sting and Darby Allin in his last match. It's dumb. It's dumb. It is so stupid. I'm sorry, Sting. I have nothing but respect for you. Love what you've done in your career. If this really was his idea, though, it was a dumb idea. And Tony, you're dumb for allowing it to happen. And the Young Bucks, oh my goodness. I'm not even going to say anything because this isn't about my hatred for the Young Bucks. It's my hatred for the idea that it is the Young Bucks because it just shouldn't happen. Just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and Jimmy,
stupid.
It's deeper than that too. My favorite thing is that you'll sit there and you had wrestling fans 6 years ago when WWE was still around and it was still being hated on. And when WWE fans said that something was good, they're like, you'll just say that anything that they do is good. This is exactly what AEW is doing. Like they're like, if you don't criticize, these are the fans that kept saying, if you don't criticize the company, they're not going to grow and get better. The reason why I left is that we would criticize them and they wouldn't do what we would ask them to do. And now what are they doing? AEW is sitting there handing them crap and they're happily eating it, just saying, well, that's because this is what I prefer. You got to call them out when they do stupid things. WWE does stupid things all the time. We call them out for that all the time on here.
And before we go on to the question of the week, I'm going to just end it with this. I'm going to literally let you know. I'm going to practice what I preach here because I said, watch what you enjoy. Don't watch what you don't enjoy. I won't watch this shit if it truly is the Young Bucks. And this is what it is because I think it's that dumb.
It's
I really do think it's that dumb.
Not care about one of my favorite wrestlers' retirement matches. That's disgusting. But it's true.
It's also furthering what I was saying before with the TNA thing. Like I'm really feeling like I might switch over to TNA because I only have a certain amount of time during the week to watch what I want to watch. And if TNA is putting on a better product, which they are right now, based on what I saw, and I'm gonna further into that to see if it's true. What I'm seeing from AEW right now is because of ideas like this one is exactly why I'm going to probably take my 2 extra hours a week of wrestling and take it over to TNA and watch that one because this is one of the worst ideas I've ever seen. And again, I don't know what else to say about it. It's horrible. It's just horrible. And that's my final word.
Sting is the greatest of all time. And to think that he's going to have to go out against the 2 most overrated, overblown, overbooked, and overclocked wrestlers in the history of the tag team business is a travesty. It's an absolute freaking travesty. I feel like Darby has been shafted more than anybody in this whole situation.
Yeah.
Like, he's put the work in, man, for the past, 3 years?
He put his career on hold to be Sting's tag partner.
Literally.
He was the most over guy in AEW before Sting got there. He was the TNT champion. He didn't defend his championship for months when Sting got there because the story was Sting. And he's not the guy that faces him on the way out? Come on.
It's just ridiculous. The Young Bucks should have said no.
Yes.
That's what annoys me. The Young Bucks, who have got enough power, should have said to Tony, no, it should be Darby. Because Sting would have done it. I don't care what anyone says. He says Sting's always been he's a gamesman. He does what's best for business.
And if he was going to break his idea of just strictly doing tag team wrestling for anybody, it would be Darby.
It would be Darby.
100%. There's no, you'd be hard pressed to convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
not saying you couldn't. And I'll say this. I said the exact same shit when they put MJF and Adam Cole together as a tag team. And then when we did Best of 2023, I highly praised the whole thing. So there's a way you can convince
of Tony Khan kissing the Young Bucks' asses.
You could convince me that I'm wrong here. I just think it's going to be a very, very monumental challenge. Because, man, that was just... And I've seen way too many people agreeing with me for me not to feel confident enough to rant about it. It's just been insane. Yeah, that was stupid. But now we'll move on to the guest of the week. Ty, you didn't have no opinion on it, did you? Because I know you don't watch it, but yeah. As far as Tidy's concerned, Sting's last match was against Seth Rollins.
You have plenty of opinions. Y'all are good.
So it is now time for our guest of the week. That's where our guest, Nick the Geek, this week gives us a question, mix them together, question, and we talk about it for a real quick bit because we are over, so we'll make it quick. But Nick, what have you got for us this week?
Who, gentlemen, if anyone, two-part question, do you think is going to be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble?
Men or women's or both?
Go for both. Okay. And in the men's case, why is it Kazuchika Okada?
Pipe dream, baby. I'm gonna let Tidy go first here because he's been listening to us run our mouths for a while.
I don't really have anything for the men, honestly, but it's just people from NXT that I had other people, and this will make Nick really happy. If there was someone else than Bayley to win, I would want Mako Satomura just so she can destroy Damage Control.
Mute this man. Mute him now.
I know.
This is a disgrace. Tidy. No, I should hear no more. This Jimmy, you bring me on your show.
I love the fact that I have Mako Satomura's biggest hater and Mako Satomura's biggest fan on the show at the exact same time. I love it.
I love it. The fact that she can go for Damage Control and take them out, take out Asuka, take out Kairi, because Mako is made like Brock Lesnar, basically how NXT basically showed her. And honestly, she's been gone for a while. She's a surprise entrant. I would love her. Just that my brain would go if I see her show up at the Rumble.
Satomura is the biggest waste of space in the history of Japanese professional wrestling. She only got in the business because of freaking nepotism. She's got absolutely no timing whatsoever. She botches constantly, but because she's been around so long, everyone's like, oh, Mako's really great. She's fucking terrible. Am I blind? Am I the only crazy person?
To be fair, Nick, you are blind, bro. You are blind.
Well, I am blind. I'll give you that. I am blind.
Dude,
right, but seriously,
stop, Nick.
Mako is right. You know what? No, we could be here all day. So no.
Courtney loves Mako. That's 2v1. That's it. We win.
All right. So Tidy surprises Mako Satomura.
Yeah.
All right. Albert, let's bring it over to you. I'm curious if you're going to co-sign this Okada nonsense because you are a Okada fan. Surprise entrance for men and women, and why?
I love Kazuchika Okada. I believe that Kazuchika Okada, the best move he could ever make is to have a 1 to 2 year foray into WWE at this time. I don't see him being in the Rumble, unfortunately. I think that if they debut somebody like Okada, I think that it's got to be almost like what they did with Cody, only build it up a little bit more and have his first match be at Mania. I think that's the level, the caliber of a talent that Triple H thinks he has. So I don't think they would make that a surprise. And also, I don't want to. I know that this is going to sound very weird because I just said you need to build him up, as like this big deal. I don't know if enough American wrestling fans will recognize who he is if he comes out in the Rumble. I think that's the idea of him not getting a gigantic pop like AJ did. I think makes it a little bit harder for people to take him seriously as a main eventer. In terms of who I think, I have one person who I really honestly, truthfully believe will be a surprise. I think X-Pac's going to be in the Rumble. I don't know why, but in my mind, I keep thinking X-Pac is going to be in the Rumble.
I've seen a few people saying that.
Well, he said that he needs about 3 weeks to get into ring shape to make sure lose about 10 pounds because that way he can get his high kicks in because he can't do it if he's not in the right shape. But he also said he is not going to be in the Royal Rumble, which, as we all know, means
he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
To be in the Royal Rumble.
For the ladies, do you have any surprise entrants?
I think that there's one big name that it could possibly be, and man, if number like 15 or 16 hits and Sasha Banks' music hits, I think the world goes on fire. And to be honest with you, that's what I want to see.
Okay. So for men's, I'm going to say RVD just for the simple fact that the man can still go. A lot of people still remember him, and he's been wrestling, so there's no reason he couldn't just show up, do the Rumble, get a little spot, make some money, and then that's it. I think that's a possibility right there. I think Shawn Spears is another one. I think 10 is going to hit, and Shawn Spears is going to come out. I think that's happening. So I'm giving you 2 for each. And then the women, here you go. Courtney just put up Naomi, so I won't use Naomi. I'll use someone different. I do think Naomi shows up. I think AJ Lee is a real possibility. I think it's a possibility, and I don't think it's for her to come back. I think it's literally just for a one-time thing, show up, just to please the fans, get that last in-ring thing before she officially retires for good. Lou says my wife Jade Cargill. Yeah, I wouldn't consider her to be a surprise though. I think we all kind of know that she's
Jade's virtually guaranteed.
She's probably going to throw more people out than anybody. My other one's Mandy Rose. I think Mandy Rose is on her way back. I think the women's division is about to just go insane this year.
Yeah,
because we have a great roster as it is, but we have names coming in. We have names that haven't, like Jade Cargill, Mandy Rose. Her work with Toxic Attraction was some of the best during the time in all of wrestling. It was phenomenal. I was never a Mandy Rose fan, but what she did,
they're never going to bring her back unless she shuts down OnlyFans, dude.
I wouldn't be so sure about that, man, because they let the people do their streaming on game and stuff now too. So I think. I think business can be done because they're letting Punk go off and do his little ventures as well. I think Triple H is a much more understanding person. I think him and Nick Khan have a great working relationship to where they understand each other and they're able to talk to each other and say, this is going to work better for this. And then this is going to work better for that. And I think they're a great combination because again, you've seen a lot of the things that Vince took away, they've brought back. So I just think Mandy Rose. I don't know why. I just feel like that's the thing. And she was just seen with a video with Liv Morgan training for return. So.
Right in the middle. I think that both of you guys are right. I don't think they shut down her sites, but I think they get a lot less spicy. I think that's like the compromise. Like, hey, just as long as you're not exposing anything too much, then sure, cool. Do what you want to do.
And if we go back, I think the only thing that was a problem before is because it became like vast public knowledge. Because when she got ousted for it, I mean, a lot of people knew, but not a lot of people knew. She literally messaged a dude on Twitter like, "Hey, take that down." Like she was trying to keep it on the low. There's no way WWE didn't know. There's just no fucking way they didn't know about it. But they were cool with it as long as it wasn't out there. And then once it became out there, they had to say, look, our hands are tied. We got to do something. So
it's the same reason as you said last week about China, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She switched over. She's no longer doing it through her website. It's through OnlyFans. I don't know the difference, but I imagine there's something there. And WWE can just come in and take their cut of the profits of it and be like, yeah, it's cool. You can do that. And she can have a successful career in WWE again because, yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of surprise with the women. I think there's going to be a lot. But those are my picks. I know I picked 4. You said 2, but oh well, it's my show. I'll do what I want. So with that said, it is time to say our goodbyes. We went over, but I'm not mad because we have Nick here and we had a lot to talk about tonight. I think we actually did pretty good for as much as we had to talk about. So with that said, swing it over to Tidy if he's got anything to say before we say our goodbyes. But this is
Drew
our goodbye.
Drew McIntyre, and I wanted to tell Nick, because I didn't get to tell him, I'm officially on the Cody train. I finally finished that biography, Nick. And now I finally get what his story is. It's not just about finishing his dad's story. It's also him proving that he is a top caliber guy. And he's always proving people wrong. Freaking love it. So I actually got some love for Cody now. So
Okada just showed up in TNA tonight.
Crap. There you go. That was it.
I know it's a spoiler.
They turned him into Kato. That really.
Oh no. That makes sense. I think he was advertised a couple weeks ago.
That was the night.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
So he is stateside for a little bit.
So is Julia, by the way.
Yeah. But I think her contract's up until April.
No, I'm just saying she's just stateside. Just so happens to be that right now she's doing the New Japan Strong.
Okay. Albert, swing it over to you. Your final goodbyes.
As always, watch the Slam Sessions. I do want to wrap up with one quick thing. I got to see the Iron Claw last night. And guys, if you haven't seen it, it was absolutely unbelievable. Go watch it. Maybe one of the best movies I've seen in the past few years. I mean, wrenched my heart. My girl, she's not a wrestling fan, really. She'll watch every once in a while. She was in tears through half of this movie. It is absolutely unbelievable. There's a lot of inaccuracies. They combined two brothers into one in the movie, which is a little bit weird that they did that. But other than that, man, it's very well acted. The wrestling, it's the best wrestling I've seen in a professional movie about professional wrestling since The Wrestler, and I think it actually tops it. I think that the performances were great. I think the wrestling was great. If you guys haven't seen it, go see Iron Claw. Absolutely unbelievable.
All right. And go watch Slam Sessions.
Right, of course.
And then, Nick, the floor is yours, sir, to say your goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nick the Geek. If you like me, if you find me entertaining anyway, you can find me over at Wrestling Legion on YouTube with my two friends, Andy and Simon. We do podcasts. And this Thursday, I believe, the 18th, we will be doing Wrestling With Your Thoughts, episode 3, Fancy Fucking Warfare between Matty Laws and Mr. Devin Andrews to see who will be taking on this gentleman for the title in the following months. It's going to be very good. They're rebooking it, ECW Heatwave 98, WWF Bad Blood 97, and the first episode of WWECW, the one with the zombie.
Great show.
Just lost my earbud. It's around somewhere. I've still got one. It's fine. But yeah, that's it. So Wrestling Legion, you can find me over there.
All right. And with that, we will be back here next week. We have our guest already planned out because, again, as I'm full force this year, I'm taking charge. I'm getting things handled instead of just last minute and everything. And it's Mr. Beast Mode from Twitter. He's a good buddy of mine. Very, very, very positive. I'm looking forward to finally getting him on the show. And we will be doing the top 5 most likely winners for the Women's Royal Rumble. And then whatever happens the rest of the week, we'll kind of pick it out from there. But that's the list for next week. And we'll also bring back our favorite moments from the week. I know this week we just had a lot to talk about, so we didn't get our chance this week. But next week, that will return as well. So Beast Mode, top 5 most likely women's winners of the Royal Rumble, and our favorite moments, as well as something else, and a guestion of the week as well for that. So with that, this week we're also bringing back, we took a break from the holidays because I was super busy and everyone else was doing things with their friends and family. So we are going to be bringing back the week-long praise-a-thon for a certain individual to be named, and that person shall be named by Nick. So Nick, go ahead and give us someone that you would like to see us highlight for the entire week this week. If you say Cody Rhodes, I will lose my shit.
I'm not that much of a dick. Absolute Ricky Starks.
I love it.
Love that so much.
Fuck yes, I love that. That's a great one.
I love Ricky
so much.
And quick question before you go: his contract's up.
Yes, he's going to WWE. That's
Rumble.
the answer right there, and I can't wait. So with that said, everybody go over to the Twitter page, Positively Awesome Wrestling, and check out the Ricky Starks content all week long. I'm very excited about this one. I love me some Ricky Starks, and he's a class individual. If you get the chance to meet him, you definitely should. So with that, tune in next week for this, and we'll be back next week. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week. Toodles, and oh yeah, just this too. I almost forgot. Don't ever forget. Just enjoy wrestling. Watch what you like. Don't watch what you don't like. I know that sounds contradictory, but I won't watch things last match if it is the Young Bucks. I promise you, I won't do it. So I'm not contradicting myself at all. Goodbye, everybody. Dang, it's taking forever. Why isn't it doing this? What's going on here?